What's going on, everybody? Ronnie DiMaggio here with BMW of Morristown, and in today's video we are going to be doing a walk around and overview with this 2024 BMW X5 50e. So the X5 50e is the plug-in hybrid version of the new 2024 X5. For 2024, the X5 got an LCI, a life cycle impulse. It was refreshed, and so were the different trim levels and the powertrain. So pre-LCI, before the 24 model year, for the refresh, you had the X5 45e. That was your plug-in hybrid. It has been significantly updated and upgraded for 2024 in the form of the 50e. Bigger number means better car, of course. 50e is quite an improvement on the 45e. We'll talk about all of those improvements that were made in this video. We'll go over the powertrain, of course. That's the big draw with the 50e, the plug-in hybrid over the regular 40i gas-powered X5. We'll talk about the styling, we'll talk about the interior, and we will talk all about the X5 50e. So with that said, let's get started with what might be the most important part of this video, and that would be the powertrain. So let's pop the hood and take a look. All right, so under the hood of the X5 50e, we have some familiar things and some new stuff. So the familiar thing is the turbocharged 3-liter inline 6. This is largely a carryover from the 40i model. It is the B58, the corporate inline 6 that we use in just about everything that everybody loves and that performs so well. So it's great to see that fitted here to the 50e. So you have the B58, that inline 6, but you also have a plug-in powered electric motor. So you have a hybrid system, of course, and that means the gas power, the electric power can combine for some pretty impressive figures in this case. So the X5 50e makes 483 horsepower combined, 516 pound-feet of torque, which is a huge increase over the 45e, which was around 380 horsepower. So over a 100 horsepower increase for the plug-in hybrid variant of the X5, which is really impressive and really awesome. It's also a 100 horsepower increase over the standard 40i, even for the 2024 models, which makes 375 horsepower. So the 50e has become quite a powerhouse for the 24 model year. The plug-in hybrid version is actually quite powerful. It's nearing M60, the V8 powered X5 levels of power, which is really, really impressive. So those are the power figures. 0 to 60s in about 4.6 seconds, which is, again, really quick. Mid-4s for a big SUV like this is really awesome. Let's talk some about charging and electric range. So you have 39 miles of all electric range. You'll see in the interior there's a button to flip it into all electric mode, and when you do that, you can drive up to 39 miles without using a drop of gasoline. Or you can combine for BMW quoted 440 miles of range, gas and electric, but I've seen estimates and heard reports of people getting well over 500 miles of range with the 50e, which is fantastic. You have 58 mpge, that's miles per gallon equivalent. 40 miles all electric range is really, really good for a plug-in hybrid. Charging times can vary based on your charging power. If you're doing level 1, which the car comes with a flexible fast charger that's capable of level 1 charging, you're looking at about 21 hours of charge time, which is a significant amount of time and can be impractical for some folks that do a lot of driving and don't have a ton of time to charge. But level 2, which can be done publicly or at home if you install the appropriate NEMA 1450 outlet, can bring your charging time down to 7 hours, which is just an overnight charge, which becomes very easy to do. From 0 to 100 overnight is great. Now, the car comes with level 1 capability. The charger is a level 1 adapter. If you want to charge level 2 with your 50e, you'll have to buy a level 2 adapter for the charger that comes with the car. So you get the full charger piece, the part that plugs into the car, but if you want to do level 2, you'll have to buy a separate adapter, which isn't terribly expensive and may be worth the time for the increased charging speed. You'll also have to get a 1450, a 240 volt outlet installed to your garage at your house. So something to consider, but I do think level 2 charging is definitely worth it for the X5 50e. Just makes things so much easier where you can charge it overnight as opposed to, over the course of almost 24 hours. So that is the powertrain, or the engine, the battery charging stuff. It is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission exclusively, and it has all-wheel drive in the 50e as standard. So that's the powertrain. We will touch on it more and learn a little bit more about how it works as we move inside and around the car. But for now, let's finish up the exterior by talking about front, side, and rear styling. All right, up front with the X550e. So we already did a video on the 40i and the M60i versions of the X5, and we talked a lot about the LCI styling, particularly in the 40i video. We did a pretty in-depth analysis of the LCI changes styling-wise for the X5. So I won't go over that stuff too much in this video because we already did it. So if you want a more technical and in-depth sort of close look at the LCI stuff for the X5, go watch that 40i video, which we linked to in a pop-out card here. I'll gloss over it here, and I'll mention that the styling for the 40i and the 50e are all pretty much identical. There are a couple changes which I'll point out throughout this video, but we'll go through styling pretty quick on this one because it is pretty much the same as an M Sport 40i. So obviously this car has the M Sport package, it's Skyscraper Grey, and you have all those LCI changes that you got on the 40i here on the 50e. The slimmer headlights, the new running lights, the sort of reworked bumper, the new kidney grille, all that stuff carries over from 40i to 50e. So not a ton to talk about as far as front end styling. There is a couple of things to differentiate the 50e from the gas powered models on the side and on the back, so let's move around there. All right, along the side of the X550e, the trend from the front continues on the side, and that is to say that there are really no differences styling wise from 40i M Sport to 50e M Sport or 40i regular to 50e regular. Really no differences to talk about except for two very subtle changes. First being, on our little side grille here, the 50e has electrified by eye written in the side grille. It's pretty small, it's pretty subtle, so you'll have to have an awfully keen eye to spot that on the road or even in a parking lot. That's one change for the 50e. The other change takes place on the driver's side only, in that the charging port for the 50e is on the front driver's side fender. So those are the only two ways to tell a 50e apart on the exterior from the side. Very similar or identical to a 40i styling wise. There are no changes. You have same wheels, same brakes you can customize in the same way, blue or red calipers, the same options for paint and wheels, and all that stuff is the same from 40i to 50e. BMW really didn't mess with the styling for the hybrid at all, so I think that's a good thing. Again, I said it before, the X5 looks great in all trims for this generation, as it really always has. So the side profile is great as well. Nice lines, really strong sort of character line on the side here. A nice prominent Hofmeister kink in your window trim. So great looking side profile for the 50e, just like its gas-powered brothers. Let's move along to the back. We'll go through the styling really quickly there, and then we'll move into the trunk, the back seat, and talk a little bit more about the X550e's interior, and then we'll move into the tech as well. All right, around back with the 50e, again, at risk of sounding repetitive, and I'll go through this quickly because it is repetitive. The styling is unchanged from regular X5 to 50e, 40i to 50e. Again, same deal with the front, the side, all the styling, it is unchanged, save for a very tiny detail, and that is, of course, the badging. The 50e says xDrive50e instead of xDrive40i or M60 or whatever else. So you have the badging. That's the only way to differentiate a 50e from a 40i in the back, save for the little blue around the BMW roundel, which you have up front as well. So like we've said previously in this video, it's all subtle changes that can help you differentiate a 50e from a 40i. Very, very small changes like the blue, the badging, the electrified by eye on the side grille, little stuff, subtle stuff. So that's the rear styling. Let's move right into the trunk. We'll go ahead and pop it open. We have our floor mats back here taking up a little bit of space, but overall the 50e is like the regular X5, very, very practical. Now, there is one important difference with the 50e from the 40i, and that is that the under floor storage in the trunk is reduced compared to a 40i or any other gas-powered X5. You have some additional components for the hybrid stuff. They have to shuffle the gas tank around for packaging reasons, so not quite as much space under the floor of the trunk. However, you do still have plenty of space. This is where you can store your charging cables and where they will come from the factory. So plenty of practicality here in the back of the 50e, like you have in all X5 models. You have your cargo shade, you have some hooks, you have a 12-volt power outlet, lots of good stuff back here, and plenty of space. Even if you have 5 people, you have room for 5 people's luggage on, a weekend getaway or something like that. So plenty practical in the back of the 50e here. Let's move along and talk about the back seats. All right, back seat in the X550e. Like all X5s, this is a pretty nice place to be. So I'll sit straight up, head back and everything, and you can see I have plenty of legroom, and this front seat is in a pretty far back position. A tall person could sit very comfortably in this front seat, and me being about 5'9", sitting behind them, would still have plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom, you know, multiple inches of headroom, and knee room, foot room is all great. So plenty of space back here. Even for 3 people across, the shoulder room would not be too terribly tight. The X5 has a pretty roomy back seat, especially considering how much cargo space it has in the back. As far as storage goes back here, you have some nice deep side pockets. You can option it with rear heated seats. This one in particular does not have it, but you can get it. You have 2 USB-Cs, you have a 12-volt power outlet, you have another USB-C on the back of each seat for 4 total in the back. You have some nice storage on the back of each front seat, and you of course have a fold-down center armrest with cup holders and a extra little tray for storage. So overall, the back seat of the X550e is very practical, pretty spacious, and overall a nice place to be. Whether the X5 is your only car, it's just you and you're just using it for your daily commute, or you have a big family, you could easily fit 2 car seats back here. And maybe somebody else even in the middle, so plenty of space. Very practical, of course, being an X5, the back seat is super practical. So that's the back seat. Let's move up to the front seat, where we'll talk about the tech, and we'll talk a little bit about how to work the hybrid system while you're driving the 50e. All right, inside the X550e, let's start with what most prospective 50e buyers are probably most curious about, and that would be the hybrid system, how it works, how you control it, how you choose between your different electric, gas, and combination drive modes. So all of those controls are located, or at least the main controls are located down in the center console right next to your gear selector, wherein a usual X5 would have its drive mode selectors. In the 50e, those are still your drive mode selectors, but the drive mode selection is different. So instead of Sport, Comfort, and Eco, you have Sport, Hybrid, and Electric. And where your auto start stop button used to be, the button to disable that feature in old gas X5s, that is now your battery hold mode. So let's go through those from top to bottom. Battery hold, if you engage that, a little message pops up on the screen that says battery charge is maintained at the current status while driving. So that means if you have a certain amount of battery power left and you want to hold it or preserve it while you're driving, you can press battery hold and it will keep your battery charge where it is currently. In sport mode, that does just what you would expect. It will maximize the amount of output power from both the engine as well as the electric drive system. So that's how you get all 480 plus horsepower all the time. You click it into sport mode. If you pay close attention, not sure if the microphone will pick it up, but right now I'm in electric mode, so no engine running. If I press sport mode, you can hear the engine just fired up. My gauge cluster changed into the sporty display, so that is sport mode. It's maximum power all the time. Hybrid mode is what you will start in when you turn on the car. Hybrid mode is the default. That's sort of the new comfort mode. That is a balanced hybrid drive, as BMW calls it, and it will choose between gas, electric, and a certain combination of the two based on your driving style. If you floor it and you need to go fast, it will switch you onto gas power with electric supplementation. Or if you're just putting around town in a parking lot, like right now I'm in hybrid mode, not full electric, but the engine just turned off because it knows, you know, I'm just using AC, I'm not going anywhere, I don't need to be using any gas. Electric mode is your final drive mode. That does exactly what you would expect. It makes the car fully electric, does not use gas power at all. So if you just want to drive it as a pure EV, you can certainly do that. Now, the cool thing about these drive modes is that they have some sub modes within them. So in sport, you obviously have sport individual, and then you can configure that. Like, do you want sport steering and sport dampers and things like that? You have hybrid, and then you also have hybrid Eco Pro. Obviously, hybrid Eco Pro is going to prioritize your range and fuel consumption. It's going to minimize fuel consumption and maximize range. And then in electric, you have electric, and then you also have electric individual, which you can again configure. You can do the damping and the steering like you can in sport mode, but it also lets you turn on and off your EcoPro seat heating, EcoPro climate control, and things like that. So if you're in electric, it will or in your hybrid EcoPro, it will minimize the amount of energy used by the climate control systems. If you don't want it to mess with your climate control, you can just turn that stuff off in your EcoPro stuff. So that's how you control the main hybrid components and switch between your different modes. It's all pretty seamless, and if you're worried about it, it's too much, just put it in hybrid and let the car do the thinking for you. Now, let's talk a little bit about how the car drives in those modes, because that is, again, really important. The big question being, for me at least, the question with hybrids is always how smooth does it manage the integration and sort of the transition between gas and electric. I've driven hybrids that do that horribly, and I've driven hybrids that do that really, really nicely. The X5, of course, being the latter. It does it great. You can drive one of these. If you didn't know it was a 50e while you were getting into the car, while you were driving it, you wouldn't even know that it was a hybrid. It's so smooth. If you just put it in hybrid mode and get the gas engine running, it works so flawlessly. The gas engine turns on really smoothly and quietly when you're driving and it needs to kick on. It just does it. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't jolt or jerk or anything weird like that. It is so smooth. It's actually really, really impressive how they've managed to do it so smoothly. The other thing to note is that in electric mode, many plug-in hybrids feel like absolute dogs. They're really, really slow in the all-electric mode, which kind of makes it less useful and less practical if you're actually going to use it to drive. If you can't even merge onto the highway in all-electric mode, what's the point? BMW tends to agree with that, it seems, because this car actually is surprisingly eager to accelerate in the electric mode. It has plenty of get up and power in the electric mode, more than you would expect. It's actually a pretty solid bit of acceleration, bit of G-force generated in electric mode, even from, you know, moderate speeds, 40, 50 miles an hour. If you put the pedal down in all electric mode, it accelerates quite quickly. It's actually really impressive. It is perfectly suitable in electric mode as far as power goes for daily driving. So that's really good. The other thing that's really good and really fun is that in sport mode, if you want, you know, all the power, all that 480 plus horsepower, it feels like every bit of 480 plus horsepower. Obviously, this being a brand new car, you don't want to romp on the gas engine too much. So I haven't experienced, you know, like red line, like wide open, like you can do in electric mode, because there's really no break-in period for the electric motors. But even in sport mode, you shift it at like 4,000 RPMs with the pedal like 75% down. It feels really powerful, tons of grunt. Honestly, feels every bit as quick as the M50s of the old generation X5, the pre-LCI, the V8s. It is properly quick. 4.6 seconds to 60 is no joke. Neither is 480 horsepower, 500 and low 500s pound-feet of torque. Really impressive numbers, and it feels really impressive as well. That's the hybrid and electric drive stuff. Hopefully that is helpful for those people that are maybe a little bit timid about getting a hybrid. Don't be. It's super easy. You can still just put gas in it whenever you want, just like a normal car. Leave it in hybrid mode, use electric mode when you want to. It's super easy, super seamless. BMW makes it really easy. Some additional hybrid stuff in the gauge cluster that you won't get on a regular X5 is the charging menu. This is pretty standard. You can just set your charging target and AC limit if you'd like, the charging mode, stuff like that. Nothing really unique or shocking or super surprising in there. It's all standard stuff. Let's talk, move away from the hybrid stuff and talk about the X5 in general. We've done that again in more detail in our 40i video, but I'll touch on the important stuff here. First of all, this car is running 8.5. iDrive 8.5. That is the latest iDrive system that X5s, X7s are getting now, 7 Series, stuff like that. So 8.5 is fantastic, works really nicely here. I'm a big fan of it. I think the interface is a little bit easier to navigate compared to iDrive 8. The climate control is much more streamlined, so 8.5 is fantastic. You have some additional hybrid stuff in the gauge cluster. Mainly, you have your hybrid battery percentage or your range over here on the right. You're at 11 miles. I'm at 11 miles right now. Then you have your total range over there on the left. That'll show you the gas plus the hybrid range. So not a ton of differences as far as the gauge cluster goes for the hybrid. It's really just that extra little bit of info for your battery systems. The fit and finish and the space, of course, is the same as a regular X5, and again, that is fantastic. I have plenty of room here. Again, I'm only about 5'9", but still, I have plenty of headroom. I could go way up higher in the seat or way down lower. Lots of adjustment. I can go all the way back to a point where my feet literally can't touch the pedals. So tons of adjustment for taller or bigger drivers in the X5. This particular one has multi-contour seats. Little trick, if you see those lines on the headrest in an X5, that means it's multi-contour seats, which means you can adjust the upper part individual. You have these cool sort of adjustable headrests that can hug your head in a little bit. So the multi-contour seats are just as good here as they are everywhere else. Another thing that is specific to the hybrid is that all the 50Es have air suspension, which is awesome. Factory air suspension is always cool. You can raise it up. Let's see if you guys can see, maybe if you watch the belt line right here, you might be able to see it move against the tree, but we're going up right now. And you can adjust that as you like when you're parked. Sometimes it'll tell you that, you know, function not available or something like that because there's not sufficient charge, or there's some sort of extraneous thing preventing the system from doing that. So we're in the all the way up mode, and then you can click it all the way down if you want to lower it for that sporty look while you're in the parking lot. So I think the air suspension is really cool. It is practical as well if you go over some bumpy trails or things like that. It might be nice to jack it up, or if you want to look a little extra cool parked at the grocery store, you can lower it down and sort of almost tuck the wheels into the fenders, and it looks really cool. So I love the air suspension. The other benefit besides, you know, being able to adjust the aesthetics of the car with the ride height is that it rides fantastically well. Super smooth. You're literally riding on air, and it feels like that. Really, really comfortable ride in the 50E with the air suspension. So that pretty much does it for the interior of the X550e. Again, it is just as practical as you would expect an X5 to be. You have wireless charging, you have cup holders, you have plenty of storage, you have a fantastic sound system, you have all the great things you would expect from a 50e. It is the ultimate sort of family practicality vehicle. There is something for everyone in the X5 lineup, all the way up to the X5M for super performance, 50E for the extra practicality of having some EV capability. There's just something for everyone in a really practical package with great tech and everything. The X5 is really just a winner all around, and when you add the hybrid components, it's really only gets better. So that'll do it for the interior. Let's hop outside and wrap up with our final thoughts. All right, so that's going to do it for this walk around and overview on the 2024 BMW X5 50e. Overall, I think the 50e is an incredibly compelling package for the folks that want all that X5 practicality that the X5 has become known for, but they also want a little taste of all electric driving. It's not quite a full EV, of course, and maybe you're not ready for a full EV, but you do like the benefit of being able to drive without having to use any gas when you'd like. You have a short commute maybe, and you just want to use that electric for your short commute and then gas for the longer trips. You can do that with the 50e. The powertrain's incredible. It's really legitimately quick. It's obviously very comfortable, luxurious, well-built, practical. It ticks really all the boxes. This, you know, say for the X5M, might be the one I would choose if I had my pick of the X5 lineup. I think the 50e is really, really compelling. So that's it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, we appreciate it. If you like the video, please press the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you think we deserved it. Lots and lots of people that watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're watching the videos and you like them, just subscribe so you don't miss a new one. That would be great. We would love to see that. So as always, we appreciate the comments. If you have any questions, drop a comment. You have any suggestions for future videos, drop a comment. We reply to pretty much all of them. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at BMW of Morristown. And of course, if you want a BMW, you're in New Jersey, the Tri-State, or Morristown, go ahead and stop by, give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out. So that'll do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.